Take your smartphone out of your pocket. Look at it. You think it's a marvel of American engineering. You think of Apple, Google, Silicon Valley. But strip away the glass and the code, and what do you have? You have a paperweight. Without a tiny pinch of magic dust, specifically neodymium for the vibration and dysprosium for the screen, that device is dead. Now look bigger. Look at the F-35 fighter jet, the pinnacle of U.S. air superiority. It requires 920 pounds of this magic dust to fly. Here is the terrifying question. What if the country that supplies the dust is the same country the jet was built to fight? Welcome to the rare earth reality. While the world was fighting over oil in the Middle East, China was quietly cornering the market on the periodic table. They don't just own the mines, they own the chemistry set. In this episode, we are investigating the unseen stranglehold that threatens to turn the entire Western tech industry into a hostage. To understand how we got trapped, we have to go back to 1992. While Western politicians were obsessed with cheap labor and quarterly profits, China was thinking in decades. Deng Xiaoping, the architect of modern China, said it plainly: the Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. This wasn't a casual observation, it was a doctrine. China realized that the future wasn't in steel or plastic, it was in high-tech metals. They subsidized their miners. They ignored environmental costs, they drove the price of rare earths into the floor. Why? To bankrupt the competition. And it worked. The famous Mountain Pass mine in California, once the world's leader, went bankrupt in the early 2000s. The U.S. industry shut down. We handed the keys to the future to Beijing because we wanted cheaper magnets for our Happy Meal toys. Now China controls roughly 60% of mining, and more critically, nearly 90% of processing capacity. They played the long game, we played the short game, and we lost. The media will tell you, don't worry, rare earths aren't actually rare. We can dig them up in Texas or Australia. This is the raw material fallacy. Yes, the rocks are everywhere, but turning a radioactive rock into a high-purity metal magnet is a chemical nightmare. It creates toxic waste lakes. It requires complex acid leaching. It is dirty, dangerous, and difficult. This is the processing bottleneck. Right now, even if we dig up rare earths in the U.S., we often have to ship the concentrate to China to be processed. Think about the absurdity of that. We mine the dirt, ship it to our adversary, they refine it, and sell it back to us as a magnet for our missiles. We have outsourced the value add and kept the hole in the ground. China doesn't just have a monopoly on the resource, they have a monopoly on the knowledge and the infrastructure to use it. So what happens when the valve turns off? We don't have to guess. It happened in 2010. After a fishing dispute, China blocked rare earth exports to Japan. Japan's high-tech industry panicked. Prices spiked 2,000%. It was a warning shot. Imagine that scenario today, but globally. Scenario: tensions rise over Taiwan. China announces export controls on neodymium and dysprosium for national security. Overnight, the assembly lines at Ford, EVs, Lockheed Martin F-35s, and Vestas, wind turbines, grind to a halt. You can't build an EV motor without permanent magnets. You can't build a guidance system without these metals. The West has no strategic stockpile. We are just in time. China could cripple the Western economy without firing a single bullet. They just have to stop shipping the dust. The West is finally waking up. The panic has set in. We are seeing a global scramble. Companies like Lynas in Australia and MP Materials in the US are racing to build independent supply chains. We are looking at urban mining, recycling the rare earths from the billions of old iPhones in our drawers. We are looking at substitution, Tesla trying to build motors without rare earths. But here's the smart money reality check. You cannot build a refinery overnight. It takes 10 years to permit and build a rare earth processing plant in the West due to environmental regulations. China has a 30-year head start. We are in a race against time, but we are running in quicksand. The green energy transition, the move to wind and solar, is effectively a transition from reliance on OPEC, oil, to reliance on China, metals. We traded one master for another. The element war is here. So how do we position ourselves? 1. Strategic metals over tech stocks. Technology companies are the consumers of rare earths. They are vulnerable to price shocks. Mining and processing companies outside of China are the strategic assets. Look for the non-China supply chain, the miners in Australia, Canada, and the US who will receive billions in government defense subsidies. 2. The commodity supercycle. We are entering a period of resource scarcity. The price of these invisible elements must go up if the West wants to secure supply. The era of cheap tech is ending. 3. Recognize the geopolitical risk. If you own a portfolio of green energy stocks, understand that you are effectively betting on China's supply chain. Hedge that risk. The periodic table doesn't negotiate. China owns the blocks. We're just renting them. For decades, we thought high-tech meant software. We forgot that high-tech requires high rocks. China didn't forget. The stranglehold is tight. Breaking it will be the defining industrial challenge of the next decade. The future belongs to the owners of the elements. This is the smart money wisdoms. The future belongs to the owners.